Hey, and welcome to another episode of Motors and Meats. Today we're doing the starter on my car, and we're also going to be running down to the Youth Challenge Academy at Camp Shelby here in Mississippi. But also, ooh, that's hot. Yeah, look at that. Today we're also cooking some flanken style beef ribs that I'm going to be taking to my friends Ben and Mike, who are both counselors out at the Youth Challenge Academy. So we've got the grill heating up, and let me walk you in here and show you what's going on with the meat. Check these out. Flanken style beef ribs. You take a whole rack of beef ribs and you have the butcher cut them into 1/4 inch thick slices. And right now they're just soaking here in salt. Not soaking, but dry brining, I should guess. And you can see they're starting to really soak those juices out to the exterior. It's going to make a really nice texture on the outside. I'm going to give the grill a little bit of time to come up to temp. We want to get these so that they're searing and we're actually working them back and forth. Once that happens, we'll be able to just cook them all the way till the outside looks good. And then I've got a really nice Korean style sauce that we're going to put on there. It's got a lot of sugars in it, and we'll let it finish off with that so it really caramelizes the outside. But back to the car. So nothing like a self-imposed deadline to help you get things done, right? Well, today I've got to go down to the Youth Challenge Academy because we're taking the car to show it off for their car club. Basically, they have a bunch of students that are there trying to get their GED, trying to better themselves. And one of the counselors there, Mike, has a car club that he hosts, and he brings all kinds of cars in every week, just anything and everything. And they talk about cars, they talk about engines, and I usually bring my car down once per cycle or semester or what have you. Well, my starters started acting up to the point where if the engine was really hot, I couldn't even get the thing to crank up. So I thought I'll go ahead and do that before I run down here to the Youth Challenge Academy. So I've already got the old starter out. Take a look at this. Old and new. So they're the same. We always like to make sure that everything matches up. Looks like the positioning of these things are twisted a little bit, but that shouldn't matter at all. It has all the same posts. And you can see what I've had to take out of the car is our air box, which goes here, our throttle body, which goes here, and then the first plenum, intake plenum, that goes in between these two intake manifolds. And then the starter goes right down there in that hole. And it always helps if you can get yourself some kind of magnetic light to be working in dark areas like this. It also helps to have lots of extensions and at least one universal joint. That saves the day right there. Otherwise, I don't even know how you would get down to that without removing the engine. One thing to definitely pay attention to and take note of is your vacuum lines. They're old and brittle most likely and ready to break. And in fact, I've already in a previous job broken one of my vacuum lines that's in the way. So in this case, I remembered to move mine out of the way. Is my face covered in grease? Not yet. A little? Yeah, okay. Anyway, so take a look at this. Right here, this is my patch for this vacuum line. This one runs all the way back in here to the back side of the rear plenum, and then it comes back up here, and from here it attaches to this guy right here, which is some kind of changeover valve or something. And here's the other end of that broken line. So I just took the next size up flexible line and used it as a splice to connect those two together. But while I'm working in here, I've got this tucked back out of the way. So there you can see the new starters in. It's really not that hard of a job. You just have to reach, and you need that U-joint like I mentioned, and you have to take off a couple things. One thing to note, of the several times that I've had to remove this plenum, I always seem to forget the angle that this that these intake manifolds have here. So you can see that it has to sit cocked back this way. It's not straight across in the engine bay. It comes back at an angle this way. So when you're putting it back on, just make sure that you've got it lined up the correct way before you start trying to tighten down hose clamps. Otherwise, you'll just be forcing an air leak on the back side of the throttle body, which makes things really not run well. So let's put all the rest of this back together. But before we do, let's go check on the food. It's time to put it on the grill, I think. The grill's holding steady at 400. That's right about where I want it. I've got a 2-zone fire set up here. So cool side, hot side. We can rotate the grill grate around if we want to. I'm probably just going to use the tongs to move them around. But to start off with, I'm going to get some of these on the hot side and get a nice sear on them. A lot of turning when you're cooking these. Back and forth. A lot of moving from hot side to cool side. But it's important to get a good sear on them. Really getting some great color on here now. Time to turn these again and put sauce on the other side. Oh, flame ups. I like a flame up on this. You want to think of these as having sort of a steak-like texture, but also some of that awesome beef rib flavor. We're almost out of sauce, so I'm glad I've gotten both sides of each of these now. Let's check these guys. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Finish these guys off here, and then when we come back, we'll pull them. We should be pretty close. I'm going to be letting these rest in the cooler here so that they'll still be nice and hot whenever I get out to the Youth Challenge Academy at Camp Shelby, so I can share these with my friends. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Take a look at this. Oh yeah, that's nice. Just go ahead and put that in there. That's perfect right there. That's what you want to see. You want to have it. You want to have something similar to bacon going on. Give a couple of these a little bit longer. That looks done. Look at that. It's pretty. So I'll go ahead and finish those up in just a moment and get them packaged up here into the cooler, and we'll take them out to Camp Shelby as soon as we finish the starter. We still have about an hour at the most left before I have to leave, maybe 45 minutes. So I better get to work. Let me just tell you right now how much I really don't like dealing with the plenum right there. Those rubber attachment points, I don't know what you call those, where the plenum attaches to the intake manifolds. It is really not an easy thing to get those all lined back up, but you have to make sure that they're lined back up. Otherwise you're going to have air gaps around there sucking air in whenever the engine's running, and that'll, I'm sure, throw codes and make it run bad and high idle and all kinds of things like that. But it is absolutely in there right now, and the time lapse that just played right before this point, I'm sure I'm going to edit out quite a lot, but that took me about 20 minutes between the time I hit the start button to right now. If I'd done what I figured out to be the right step first, I probably could have done it in 10, but still, I mean, lots of finagling and moving around. Anyway, let's get the throttle body back on. So now we're basically done. All we got to do is put the air box back in, hook the battery back up, and crank it back up. So let's do all that and make sure it actually cranks. Holy cow, I've never heard it turn over that fast before. I love it whenever a fixed, finished project confirms what you what you figured out was wrong with it was actually really what was wrong with it. And in this case, it was the starter. Before it was like rrr, 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 rrr. Yeah, that's a cool sound effect, right? Anyway, and after it was really hot, it would just kind of rrr, and then you have to let it rest. What is it, buddy? And then it would crank up again. But now it just fires up like so effortlessly. I love it. So let's go and head to the Youth Challenge program after I wash myself. See you there.